So I'm Aaron Traywick. I'm the CEO of Ascendance Biomedical. We are the company that's developing these gene therapy technologies. You probably saw us recently. We did the gene therapy technology that Tristan Roberts produced for the HIV therapy to cure his HIV, and now a few days from now we'll do the live stream testing of the herpes vaccine as well.
Cool. And so, still waiting on. I'll go ahead while we're waiting for him.
Yeah.
Can you actually talk about that testing that we're going to be doing on? That's 3 days from now. The herpes.
Yes.
Right?
And so the herpes vaccine. So the plan is for us to test out the herpes vaccine and to confirm that it is safe and effective for use as a vaccination against herpes. The vaccine itself is the first application of an open access platform for gene therapy delivery that we have created. We have 3 open access gene therapy platforms that are open to researchers, independent and commercial, around the world. These technologies, these platforms, are capable of bringing the cost of delivering disease management strategies, cures, and vaccinations to members of the general public at less than $100 a dose per patient for what is intended on every therapy that we develop to be a one-time use, one-time cure. The specific gene therapy platform that we are describing here for the herpes vaccine is actually not really specifically a gene therapy. It's more gene therapy based. The best possible description that we could give for it would be to describe it as a genetically programmed nanorobotic delivery system designed to deliver specific vectors to the immune system, bind to the immune system, and provide either immunities or cures for specific infectious or terminal disease. To get a little bit into the weeds here, this platform is very different from the platform that we used to deliver the N6 HIV therapy for Tristan. That platform is a little bit different because the N6 antibody that Tristan used, or the N6 antibody that is at the core of that therapy, N6 is naturally occurring in the body. Individuals who have N6 naturally in peak concentrations, these people are able to fight off the disease on their own. Those people are, of course, very rare. So when you use a gene therapy technology to increase the presence of a naturally occurring antibody in the body to peak levels of concentrations, you don't have these sort of immune issues where the immune system wants to fight it off or reduce the impact of those antibodies because it's just a part of the body. When it comes to something like you're trying to fight off cancer, or you're trying to fight off herpes, or you're trying to fight off aging, which is all applications of this new platform, you do have to have something that will bind to the immune system. Otherwise, you're going to run into this kind of issues that CRISPR-Cas9 experiences with immunotolerance, whereby the immune system fights back and won't let CRISPR-Cas9 do all the good that it could do. And then you got to keep coming back for more. You have to keep paying for the treatments. You have to keep dishing out money in order to ensure that you can sustain the effects of CRISPR-Cas9. So in order to make to give to bring some of the best of CRISPR into reality for people who just want a single shot cure, this is why we've developed this platform. We're essentially giving your immune system a new tool that it can work with for the rest of your life to fight off a specific target.
And can you talk about how that is sort of a creative but disruptive to the overall sort of system, the powers that be, FDA, big corporations, things like that?
Well, yeah, it's disruptive towards anybody who economically benefits from people being dependent upon you having to buy your way into health. Which is, at the core of it, it's just kind of that simple. It's like if you have to pay anyone more than once to give you something that you're going to need for the rest of your life, then you are dependent upon them. We're about interdependence more than we are about having people be dependent upon us as a company to provide something to them. It's an offering of independence in terms of healthcare that doesn't make sense a lot in terms of the current paradigm. You go into DC and you talk to any of the legislators about technologies like ours, the first thing that they're going to say to you, which is going to come kind of as a shock to a lot of people, but not to people on the Hill in DC, the legislators will say, okay, well, I'm going to have to work with you as a company and figure out a way that we can ensure that you can recoup your investment. Because when you cure a disease, Medicare, Medicaid, and the insurance providers have no reason to pay the company for the effect in the patient. The entire insurance system, the Medicaid system and the Medicare system, is all set up to pay the provider, the company that manufactures a treatment for a disease, to treat a disease on an ongoing basis. So, for example, if I have HIV and I go and I get tested on a weekly basis for HIV, and I'm taking HAART, antiretrovirals, the common treatment for HIV, every week or every month or every 3 months, the insurance provider can look at my blood test data and they can say, okay, the HIV level, the HIV is still there, but it's at a manageable level. It's something that we can see, and we can see that if the person gets off the antiretrovirals, it'll go back up. So the government will keep paying the company. The insurance providers will keep paying the company to keep the patient sick, but not sick enough that they'll die, but also not healthy enough that they're really living. And there is no incentivization structure set up for cures. If you cure a disease, the government will not pay a company for the number of healthy years of life that have been given to that person. New incentivization structures are coming into place, and those look pretty interesting. But at the same time, we're not waiting around for that. There are a lot of companies who would wait around for that. We're making it available right away. We make our compounds, our research compounds, available at cost of production and materials as research compounds. Obviously, we do not provide them with anything less than a labeling that says not for human consumption and for research purposes only. You are within your right to self-experiment to the best of your knowledge and to how you see our researchers self-experiment on themselves.
It looks like some people are interested in kind of what you're saying. One person just wrote, I love what Aaron is saying, awesome. Another one wrote, this guy is spitting some truth. So let me add to that a little bit by saying earlier I talked with Mac about the idea of kind of open source medicine, decentralized medicine. Can you talk about that aspect of what you're doing?
Yeah, so everything that we do can be characterized, if not open source, open access. Mm-hmm. Each of our three platforms, of which we have our infectious disease platform, of which HIV is the first application. We have our human augmentation platform, of which follistatin will be the first application in March. And we have our genetically programmed nanorobotic platform, which is for terminal and infectious disease, and perhaps human augmentation as well, of which the herpes vaccine is the first application. And each of these underlying platforms is open access to independent and commercial and academic researchers around the world. If you want to work with these, if you have a therapy or if you have a disease that you simply want to see genetically, if you want to use our platforms as a tool to find a way to cure yourself, for yourself and for others, that's what we're here for. That's what these platforms are for, and they are open to you, and they are open to everyone. So we are currently collaborating with a lot of different people, and since the first HIV test, a lot of people come to us with a lot of different strange conditions that can't be treated even through the most current and up-to-date levels of personalized medicine. So what we offer is a way for them to do that, and an opportunity to be a part of a community of collaboration whereby we can power the best possible research out there through self-experimentation and through self-designed healthcare.
What sort of results have there been? What kinds of positive developments have you had since sort of entering this business?
Well, we had a really, really. Let me stretch for a minute because I've been in the car for a while. I know we're live, but it's like I already made a fool of myself thinking we weren't live in the beginning, so it's like whatever. The coolest thing that happened most recently was last week we got the data back from an independent lab that we had. We wanted them to verify whether or not the gene therapy vector in the HIV treatment was actually transfecting into the cells. We wanted to make sure the antibody N6 was making it into the human cells, and we also wanted to make sure that once it made it in, that it was actually binding to GP120, which is HIV, for all intents and purposes in terms of the antibody and the reactivities. And we confirmed that. The NIH can't even confirm that. No one that we know of has ever been able to confirm that a gene therapy can actually transfect the human cells and bind to a disease condition. So this was pretty landmark. I mean, and it's like it was really cool, and it's a great foundation to start from and move forward from. And so that was a really great breakthrough for us. And the reason why it was so big is because our next move is by March we'll be in Venezuela, where we will be delivering what is being produced here in this lab in Austin. We will be delivering the HIV gene therapy to individuals in Venezuela dying of AIDS and HIV. Currently, in Venezuela, several hundred people die every month, every 3 months, from HIV and AIDS, simply because the country has zero access or incredibly low access to supplies of antiretrovirals to treat HIV. So you see people dying from HIV the same way people died here in the States 30 years ago, except in worse conditions, because in Venezuela they don't even have access to the kind of compounds you would need just to treat the flu. So we're literally going to go to Venezuela with these compounds, and we are going to say, to the people there who will otherwise die from AIDS and from HIV, that this is a compound. We have confirmation of safety. We have confirmation of efficacy. It may not save your life. It will not kill you. It certainly will help you. It may help you for a lifetime. It may help you for only 6 months. But what we know for a fact, like as a result of that independent lab verification, is that our treatment, our gene therapy treatment for HIV, even if, and this is like such a minor if, even if it doesn't work as well for HIV as we want it to, and we have to combine it with other antibodies to really create a functional treatment for individuals here in the United States to cure their HIV, the N6 will be the frontline treatment for curing AIDS and for ending AIDS in countries where people are dying daily. And the international community, the nonprofit community, is doing nothing. I mean, I don't want to get too negative here, but like 90% of the nonprofits won't send medications or funds to Venezuela because Maduro is manipulating the currency prices, and technically the country is a wealthy nation due to its oil reserves. So the nonprofits in the international community can't get a tax write-off. The nonprofits who do try, the very few who do try to send medications and funds, get blocked by Maduro for who knows why. because he's Maduro, because he's a fascist. Socialism has nothing to do with it. He's a fascist. So for us, it's like in situations like this, the only thing that we're just going to have to show the world what radical gene therapy technology can do to help people take the health of their lives into their own hands and the health of their families in their own hands.
Can you talk to me about the results of Tristan's experiment, both in terms of physically tell me what's going on in his body, but also sort of the social results? We had an article that was written about the experiment and the live stream by someone who is physically maybe in this building. I don't know yet. Is she?
Yeah, Kristen is here.
Kristen is. Oh, you're right here.
Yeah.
Hi. And that in that there were quotes with different kinds of responses from different people across academia, etc. I'd love if you could talk about what sorts of comments people have had about the experiment since then.
Yes. The initial. So first, to make a clear distinction here, what Tristan experimented with in phase 1 is approximately 250 to 500 times lower in potency than what he will experiment with next Saturday. And so it was a very effective safety test. What we saw, we did not see the viral loads decrease. We did see the CD4, CD8 levels increase to levels that he had never seen before in his life. And what that means is that his immune system was healthier for a period of time than it had ever been before, which is very interesting. And in consultation with academic researchers, who of course we cannot name, we have two goals or two hypotheses of what we'd like to see confirmed as a result of the N6 therapy. Either A, viral loads completely go down and HIV is completely cured with phase 2. Thing 2, HIV viral loads do not go down, but CD4, CD8 immune system levels are increased in perpetuity to a level whereby the individual would still be considered to have HIV, but their experience of HIV would be so radically altered that it would not impede or impact their life and their performance as individuals at all. And then, of course, the third option, which comes later, is that the N6 only lasts for, say, 6 months or 12 months or 2 years. And in order to ensure that it lasts a lifetime, it has to be combined with other antibodies. We have to increase the concentration of other specific antibodies in the body in conjunction, which we're prepared and geared up and ready to move forward with regardless. Because even if N6 cures HIV, HIV will evolve into super HIV. These diseases will evolve as quickly as we evolve to meet them. So we will always have to out-innovate and be prepared for the next version of HIV in the next generation of human beings that will be able to probably fight off whatever we cure in this generation. And so it will require us we have to explore those other antibodies no matter what. We must continue to out-innovate these diseases even after we cure the disease, because there's no stopping point. Like it's not a finite game here with curing disease. You cure the disease, well, the disease will evolve as human civilization and human evolution continues. It will evolve alongside us. So you have to just be apace with it and be ready for the next thing and keep playing. It's an infinite game.
So the other part of my question was about people's responses to the experiment, but I do want to follow up on something you just said. Are you scared at all that you're going to end up creating super HIV by creating here's how we get rid of it, then it adapts and now it's stronger?
Nope. Because okay, so like you cure HIV, you've increased the health of what, like, this huge amount of the world's population. You've brought them to a standard of health that was never before seen. So then super HIV comes in, okay? Or like the next phase of HIV comes in. Well, you got to fight that too, okay? But that's going to impact less and less people as you go along. And so eventually these diseases that are currently, these large-scale infectious diseases that are currently like impacting massive populations, the populations they're impacting will eventually be reduced to very small niche populations that will just require personalized medicine in order to cure the more virulent strains that impact those individuals. And that's a lot better of a scenario, right? Like, yeah, the HIV will evolve, but it's doubtful that it'll impact as many people as HIV did. It'll impact much less, and it'll be easier to fight it as well. So you just narrow and narrow and narrow and narrow the population that's impacted and continue, along the way.
And the other part of the question before was, what sorts of responses have people had to this? Good, bad, etc.
I think a lot of people, well, some people think that that we're trying to profit off people who have these diseases. And so, to set the record straight here, any technology, any treatment that we develop that is to cure a disease, specifically, whether it's infectious or chronic, these are produced, manufactured, and made available as research compounds at cost of production and materials only. We don't put a markup on those. We don't put a profit margin on those. We make those available at the cost that it takes for us to recoup the investment we made into actually manufacturing it and getting it to you. And any administrative cost, which is minimal in terms of like our time and energy spent, is used and reinvested into increasing the infrastructure to perpetuate continual access in other regulatory environments, other nations, etc. It's the Amazon model as opposed to the Microsoft model. We're not giving you something that's super expensive and complicating it so that you can keep coming back for more. We're giving you something here that you can use, you can go on your way, and it gives us the opportunity to create more and more access to other people. And to really illustrate how tied in to that notion we are, planned obsolescence is a big part of business, every business. It's a major part of computers is the easiest way to describe it. The phone in my pocket right now is Google Voice. Not Google Voice. What is it?
Siri?
No, what's the Google? What's the newest? I forget what it is. The Google Pixel. This is a Pixel 2. Okay, this is planned obsolescence. This is probably about 2-3 years behind what Google currently has available as the best product on the market, and this is the best kind of phone you can have right now, technically, right? So this is planned obsolete. Like, there's a better model out there that is ready to go, but it doesn't make sense for them to make that available on a large scale because they can't make profit. So it'll come out a few years from now, right? That's planned obsolescence. And the drug industry, the gene therapy industry is the same way. Now, we as a company, I was thinking about this morning. We've embraced planned obsolescence, but in a different way. We will make ourselves obsolete. 1 year from now, Mac will be able to give you a computer program that you can run at home. And as long as you have reagents that are quality reagents, you'll be able to manufacture and produce anything that we have already confirmed works. You'll actually be able to manufacture and produce this on your own, design it on your own. These things are all coming into play, and these things will all be in the future much sooner than we think. Now, obviously, that's an element of self-disruption. So now we're not just disrupting the mainstream in terms of the way that these treatments are brought to market. We're disrupting the way that we are currently bringing them to market, so we can ensure that this world can be a place where people can more easily take care of themselves. I mean, it's really fun right now, creating all these gene therapies and curing all these diseases. But if you can do it yourself, and we can give you the chance to do it yourself, like, why would we want to create a life, a career, a business out of it? It's just kind of silly. It's like there's no reason for it. And especially in places like Venezuela, if somebody in their home can manufacture and produce everything that their own family would need in terms of their health care, I mean, that would be beautiful. I mean, that's the idea, the science fiction idea of a maker applied to the area of human life where we need it most, healthcare.
We're kind of in a new biomedical space here. It's not academia, it's not the corporations. We're in this sort of transhumanist biohacker space. Can you kind of talk about that distinction and what transhumanism is at its foundation?
What it is at its foundation
Yeah, so
is,
I know that was a wide question, so
well, what it is
sort of open-ended.
at its foundation, to me, it appears as simply freedom. The most important thing, in my opinion, appears as freedom, morphological freedom, the freedom to be able to invent the technologies that can enhance your life regardless of the circumstances you may have been born in or the genetics you are predisposed to. I mean, ultimately, that's what it is self-guided evolution, self-directed evolution. And that is something that every individual should have the right to have. And if every individual has that right, then the collective, like humanity as a whole, benefits from this. When individuals are given the freedom to pursue their own evolutionary course in a way that does not harm others, then we're in a good place. Then we can trust each other to do what we know is best for ourselves in terms of our evolutionary course. And our culture, our world, our species is all the better for it.
What is morphological freedom, and how does the government and kind of the systems that we have in place get in the way of it?
Well, morphological freedom is morphological barriers comprise everything currently that we, every element of our society, every wall that you step up against, every job you work that you don't like, every situation that you don't prefer, every regulation imposed upon you that you would rather not be there. These are all limitations based upon that are imposed upon you based upon your current morphological state, your current genetic expression in reality, in physical reality, and the opportunity to realize, hey, these are my genes at their core, at the foundation, like this belongs to me, regardless of how my genetic expression is interacting with all these other different elements of the state, of society, of culture, of the environment, of anything. At its core, this is mine. Like, I own this. Like, this is my property. Like, I can do what I want to this. This is okay. Like, I can, if I look at myself and I say, I don't like this about me, I can tweak it. I can edit it. And so morphological freedom in the transhumanist sense would just be about giving people the opportunity to do that even more easily, instead of the more traditional ways, which we don't have to get into, but they're just just human life. Instead of the more traditional ways, you can just go at the root core of things, and you can change yourself to your heart's content, as you should be able to. Obviously, that can be dangerous to people who would prefer that you not be able to move at such light speed in terms of the in terms of the evolutionary changes that you can self-impose. It's perhaps in the benefit of the state, in the benefit of the status quo, that morphological expression be dictated upon, be dominated upon by external forces. And everybody who lives as a human being knows that the external pressures of the outside world are very easy to succumb to. We succumb to them every day. We experience them every day. We are at their ebb and flow at all times. However, what we're doing here is saying, just give people the opportunity to look within from at an actual genetic level, tweak, guide, cut, do what needs to be done for the benefit of themselves, because what they're doing for the benefit of themselves is for the benefit of humanity as a whole.
And I guess lastly, unless there's anything else that you want to add, we're entering Body Hacking Con tonight and then into the weekend. So what do events like that mean to you, and what can we expect at Body Hacks?
Oh, I've never been to Body Hacking Con before, but I think it'll be fun. I think we can expect to have a lot of good conversations like this, a lot of good thoughts like this, a lot of good synergy, and well, ultimately, I think that, you know, a lot of people will come away from this event with the understanding that a lot of these things that are being projected as, you know, even just a few years in the future by some of the most revolutionary, luminary speakers in terms of transhumanism of our times right now, even those guys are light years behind. Like, I mean, even the people who have gotten the biggest public appeal, even the names you've heard of, even the books you read, the people you first heard about talking about transhumanism, people who first piqued your interest, the people who first inspired you, their predictions are off. And it's a good thing.
Lastly, for an audience that's interested in transhumanism and sort of your work, the stuff with Tristan, and then of course this weekend is kind of their introduction to the subject, what do you want people to know that you didn't get a chance to say?
Tune in on Sunday for the first testing of the herpes live vaccine, 3:30 p.m. Don't miss it. CST, Central Time, 4:30 in DC, 1:30 in California. The only other thing I think I would say is that, you know, if you have herpes, you should be, you know, watching this as well, because what we will also, because this vaccine is just as applicable as a cure as it is for a vaccine. And the impact of herpes currently in our society and in our culture is to the extent that it limits morphological freedom and that it limits sexual freedom by cultural connotation and issues that our culture has with STDs, even those that are as minor as herpes. We find ourselves in these situations where people are actually killing themselves, you know, on a daily basis because of shame and because they feel like there's no hope. Like there's a lot better way. Like there are people out there, there are organizations out there, there are companies out there you can work with. But so the biggest thing, I mean, I've already said all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just come to us. Like, email us. Go to our website, fill out a form. We'll get in touch with you. If you've got anything you want us to work on or you want to work with us, whether or not you have money or whether or not you do, we will work with you. We'll find a way that you can benefit from your association with us.